Hello out there again, whiskey lovers. My name is Dave with Whiskey Blooded. Welcome back to the channel and happy Whiskey Wednesday again to you. Today we're going to be doing a Scotch Shootout, something new we're going to try here, where we compare two different bottles of Scotch. If you're wondering what Scotch is, since we've mainly reviewed bourbon here in the past, it's pretty simple. It's whiskey that's distilled in Scotland. There are hundreds of different distilleries in Scotland, and they're all over. It's one of the oldest forms of whiskey and one of the most popular forms of whiskey. So today we're going to be comparing a single malt Scotch whiskey to a blended Scotch whiskey. There's 5 different ways that Scotch whiskey can be made, but we're going to be looking at these two today. The reason I've picked these two bottles is just like I normally do with our videos here. They're readily available, number one, and their price points are similar. We're going to review the nose of the bourbon, or of the Scotch. We're going to review the nose of the Scotch. We're going to review the color and the taste, and then also give it an overall rating. And then today we're actually going to pick a winner between the two. So starting with the Benromach 10-year-old, we're actually going to read the bottle here. Something that I like to do when I haven't had a Scotch or a bourbon a lot. So let's read through this. Benromach is carefully handcrafted. The smallest distillery by just 2 men using the finest Scottish barley and the purest spring water from the nearby Romach Hills. Golden in color with a soft mellow character, this single malt combines soft fruity notes with a rich sherry influence and gentle peat smoke to deliver an exceptional whiskey experience. So, sounds pretty good. I mean, they're always going to sound good when you read it right from there. But interesting note, the sherry. So that might be why it's a little darker in color. They say it's going to have some sherry influence, which could be pretty neat. Now with this one, it doesn't go into as much of what it's going to taste like. Not everyone does that. So here we go. Great King Street is a line of blended Scotch whiskies created by the Compass Box Whiskey Company for people who love great whiskey. It is named after 24 Great King Street, our registered address in Edinburgh since we started the business in 2000. Through small batch blending of very best whiskeys from Scotland's top distilleries, we created delicious whiskeys with balance and complexity. It's inspired by golden age of 19th century Scotch whiskey making, enhanced by Compass Box innovation. So not as much about the taste, but a little bit of background for you. So let's pour them, and let's smell them, and let's try them. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Cool, there's a cool box that it comes in here. And let's pour each. We're going to start with the single malt. And we're going to taste the difference between the complexity between the single and the blend. But we'll pour both so you can get an idea of both. And that was a hefty pour, so this video might get interesting. If you're wondering the main difference between the single and the blend, single means it was distilled at one distillery. Now a blended Scotch whiskey such as this is 2 or more distilleries, and blended Scotch means that it used parts of a single malt whiskey and also parts of a single grain whiskey. So let's look at the difference in the color. Let me get up my sheet of paper here. And hopefully this gives you an idea. Color difference or color profile between the two. Let's see if I can maybe tip them a little bit so you can see them. The one on your right, the Compass Box, is significantly lighter in color. So there we go. Just based on color alone, I can tell that I think the Benromach might be a little more towards my taste profile. And it's looking like it's going to have some influence from the sherry. So the sherry would be the cask that they're distilling it in. That's what's going to give it this darker color. So let's give it a smell. Definitely some of that peat they were talking about right off the bat, but the sherry is even more prevalent here than I thought it would be. Lots of sherry, vanilla, toffee, and sherry. Lots of sherry. So let's give it a taste. This is the single malt Scotch whiskey, the Benromach 10-year-old. Yeah, I mean, it's very good. Opening up a little bit, we're getting the sherry, definitely getting the sherry. A little bit of peat, a little bit of smoke. A little vanilla, maybe a tiny bit of honey, a little toffee, and a fruit, like a apple, maybe a pear, like a little pear, a little apple. Very good. I like it. I don't, like I said, I openly admit that I'm more of a bourbon drinker. Scotch is a great form of whiskey. I prefer bourbon, but not at all something I wouldn't normally drink. So that I'm going to rate. We'll do the ratings at the end. We'll just wait. We'll do ratings and then we'll give you the final winner. So the second here, this is the blended Scotch whiskey, the Compass Box. Definitely noticing with the lighter color, the nose is a lot weaker. Not that that's a bad thing, but don't get that sherry smell we did earlier. Maybe a little bit of, got a salty note there, got a lot of vanilla, a whole lot of vanilla, like almost a peach, like a fruity note, but a lot of vanilla. Don't smell much smoke. Salt or like a bittery taste or a bittery smell here coming through. So let's give it a taste. Oh, before we do that, let's wash down the palate a little bit from the last one. Now let's give it a taste. Very smooth. Different aftertaste, different finish on this one. Right up front, you're getting butterscotch and vanilla, and you can definitely taste those blends. There's a lot more going on. You're not getting hit with just the same note throughout. Let me give it one more try here. I like it. I like this one as well. Like I said, vanilla, honey, butterscotch more than honey. A little bit of a tiny bit of smoke, but not really that much. And as far as that finish, I'm getting like a pear once again, but definitely more vanilla, or I'm sorry, definitely more butterscotch on this one. It hits you up front. One more shot here. It hits you up front with that butterscotch, and then it kind of opens up a little bit, dances around on your tongue a little bit. You're tasting all the different things they've blended in here. So let's rate both of these guys. Let's see what we think of each of them. So the Benromach. This was a great bottle. Like I said, around 50. I am always going to be a little harsher with my Scotch reviews because once again, it's not my preferred taste preference. So I'm going to say on this, I'm going to say a 90 out of 100. Now on the Compass Box, I wish it had more body. I wish it had more smoke. There's almost no smoke. No major, spiciness coming through. So I'm going to say on this, I'm going to say an 80. So I'm going to say an 80 here and a 90 here. I've had $100 bottles of single malt that taste about the same as this. I mean, different characters, but as far as what you're paying for in the overall, I've had $100 bottles here. This tastes like a $40 bottle of Scotch. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's a blended Scotch. It's just not blended perfectly like some of your more expensive blended Scotches would. Now on the single malt end, this is where Scotch whiskey really takes off. You can get a really good bottle for a great price. So like I said, for $50, with this drinking like there's some even more expensive than $100 bottles that I bet you people would prefer more than this one. I'm going to rate this at the 90 and rate this at 80. If you like Scotch whiskey, pick this up. This is last year's. I have the 13. 14's model's a blue front. definitely pick that up. That is something that I think everyone should have if you have friends coming over that like Scotch, or if you are getting into Scotch. But as far as the compass box, if you see one, maybe pick it up if you've drank a lot of Scotch whiskey before and you just want to try something different. But if it's your first go into Scotch whiskey, go with this. Spend the extra $10 and get yourself a much better bottle. So make sure you like the channel, subscribe, comment below, have any questions, fire them my way. And if not, we'll see you next Wednesday with the next week of Whiskey Wednesday here at Whiskey Blooded. Thanks again and have a great night. Enjoy your Scotch.